What's up, guys? I want to talk about the private network today. I don't know if you've heard of private listings or if you've heard of the PLN, private listing network, etc. List privately. So there's a huge, huge advantage to listing privately. And I don't think that you guys, the public, actually knows what this means. And so I'll try to be quick because it's not that complicated. I don't want to overcomplicate it. Basically, you can list a property on the MLS with an agent, and it is a central location to do it privately so that it does not distribute to the rest of the world. Now, you're familiar with Zillow, you're familiar with Redfin, probably you're familiar with maybe some other brokerages, websites, or Trulia, or any other place that you would look for properties online. They are getting that information from the MLS. Okay, they participate in what's called the Internet Data Exchange and IDX. You can even download these IDXs to personal web pages, business pages, so that you have some sort of real estate feed from your local MLS. That feed does not push out private listings. So if you are privately listed, you are not going to be on all the public websites. Now, there's a couple brokerages that do this. Compass is one of them, where if you are listed with Compass, it is on Compass's public website. So you can find it there and see all the coming soon properties that Compass listing agents have. However, it doesn't include all of them. So if you're with another brokerage and you have a private listing, it's not going to be on Compass's website. And it's not going to be on Zillow or Realtor.com or any of those places. So the 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 only downside I can think of the private network is the lack of exposure. You are not getting as much exposure because you're not on all these public websites. However, a lot of buyers are working with realtors and their agents have access to these listings privately. So we have to do a little bit of a separate search, but we can now recently this year we are able to send these private listings to our clients via an automated search. So as soon as a private listing comes up, it can get sent to you if it falls within your criteria. The advantage to the private network is there's a lot of reasons why it's advantageous. One, it doesn't keep track of market time. So I can see the history as an agent. I can look and see how long you've been on the private network, but it doesn't sit there and say 73 days on the market. I can just look at the history and see that you put it up there November 17th. And so it's been sitting on the private listing for however long. But there's no stigma with that. And there's also no stigma with the status changes that happen. So when you guys see a property on Zillow and then you see it's under contract and then you see it's back and then you see it's under contract again and then it's back, there's often a stigma with that where it's like, well, something must be wrong with the property, right? And oftentimes there is maybe something wrong with the property if they keep canceling due to inspection. But it could be a lot of other reasons. And so there's a lot of speculation there that happens. And again, the stigma may be justified or maybe not, but there's definitely a negative stigma that happens when the status goes back and forth. While this can still happen in the private network, we can see if it's private contingent or private active. However, only agents can see that. It's not public information. And two, we know that it's a private listing. So again, we're not as concerned about why or why not that thing went contingent. Oftentimes, there's a lot of reasons why people are only listing privately in the first place. And sometimes it's because they need to find the right house or timing is off. And so oftentimes those things cause people to accept offers and then go back on to the private network. Again, so not as much of a stigma, if any, at all. And then you have all the leverage. This is the biggest thing I think that the private network provides a seller is you have the leverage with buyers. Now it's already somewhat of a seller's market, so we get that, but you have even more leverage because you have this dangling threat to list it publicly. So if someone's not willing to pay what you want to pay or give you the closing date you want or need, if someone's not willing to give you time to find the next house or whatever, then you don't have to do anything, right? And then you can list it to the world and see what the world says. And maybe the world will give you what you want, or it's just not strong enough to incentivize you to go through a move right now. That's why you're listed privately, right? Um, in this exact moment is a perfect example. We're middle of November, right? We got Thanksgiving coming up next week. We got the holidays coming up in December and New Year's and all that. So some people don't want to leave their houses right now. Some people have out-of-town guests, long-term out-of-town guests. Some people are going to be hosting parties. Some people just simply don't want to move because it's cold outside or whatever, right? But they are going to move next year and they are planning on downsizing or upgrading or whatever. And so we can list that privately right now. And if somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I see you're listed at 350, and why are you listed privately?" It's like, well, they don't really need to sell right now. They weren't going to list till January, but I got it on the private network just in case. And then those buyers come in at 275. You say, well, no, dude, like we're not going to take that right now because we don't even want to move right now. But they might need that house desperately enough, and so they may not be lowballing you. They might be like the complete opposite. Hey, we see you're listed at 350. We'll pay you 360. We'll close whenever you want. We got 20% down. Whatever. We need this house. We need to get in there. We just don't list it to anyone else. Don't market it to anybody else. We're tired of losing out on multiple offer situations. We think that 350 is a fair price, 360, whatever they're going to give you. And then you might be like, well, crap, we weren't going to move, but this is too good to turn down. So let's do it. But we need till February to find a place, right? So now you're locked down. Go find the place. You're good. And if you can't find a place, you just cancel it. I mean, sellers, you don't have any skin in the game. I guess technically they could sue you. This is not legal advice, but it's not like you have to put up earnest money, right? The buyers are putting up earnest money. So if you give that back to them, I mean, all they can do is sue you to perform your side of the contract, which is sell your house to them. But oftentimes they don't go through that process. And so you just cancel the deal and you're back on the private network active. You were more off the market than you would have been if you were under contract publicly. Although that's pretty off the market for people. They can still see that. In this case, they can't even see that you're under contract privately. So I'm not seeing a lot of downside to a private listing, and I hope sellers understand that. Not only is it good for timing in the wintertime or times when you're not ready to move, it's also really good where I was just describing, where you have to sell your current place in order to buy the next one. Because as a buyer with a home sale contingency, your offer is very weak. You're not going to be able to compete with other people who don't have that contingency. And oftentimes, even if you're not competing with other buyers for that property that you want, sellers are not willing to jump into your I have to sell my house boat right now. They don't want to deal with you. What if you're overpriced? What if your house is ugly? What if it smells bad? What if it doesn't sell? What if it sits there on the market for 4 months, 6 months, whatever? They don't want to jump into that world with you, waiting for you to find a buyer, right? So the private network allows you to sort of find a buyer without tracking market time and status changes or price changes and all that stuff. And once you get a buyer for your place, now you have a home close contingency. You don't need to sell it anymore, but you do need to close on it. And that's a little bit stronger. Again, still probably not going to beat out anyone who doesn't have that contingency, but it's a lot stronger now. And now you can go search for properties. Also, on the buy side, I can send you private listings. And for those people, you can say, look, man, we got to sell our house, right? But we're ready to list that thing publicly. We just need to know we got the right one. Your house looks good. We like the price. We'll give you what you're asking. Lock it down. Let's go under contract. We got a contract. We'll do the inspection, blah, 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 blah. Jump in the boat with us while we sell our place because you're privately listed anyway, so you're pretty much off the market anyway, right? So just let us try to sell ours while you're privately listed before you go active, right? And then you get yours under contract because you went public with it, and now you're good. So there's a lot of ways to use the private network to buy on the buy side, and then also if you're selling, especially now in the wintertime, especially if you're not in a rush, and especially if you want that leverage, if you have to sell your current place to buy the next one. I think all of that is a perfect storm for the private network, and the only downside is the lack of exposure. But I would argue that you're getting probably 75 to 80% of the exposure you would normally get anyway. That's a completely made up statistic and number for you. But I think you're getting most of the exposure you would get anyway because you're dealing with agents who have buyers, and we're all trying to help our buyers out right now. So let me know if you have questions about this. I'm open to talking about it, obviously. Shoot me a message or whatever, wherever you're seeing this, let me know, and we'll take it from there. Thanks, guys. Later.